Your results can never rise higher than this circle. You cannot out-earn it. You cannot outperform it. You cannot out-hustle it. I built cages I didn't even know existed. When you're in this circle, it feels safe, familiar, predictable. You are not broken. You are not behind. You know it. It is cozy, but it is also suffocating. This is a trap. And you probably don't even know that you're in it. If you have ever felt like you are banging your head against the wall, doing all the right things, and yet nothing really changes, this is why. The trap I am talking about is not one made of steel. It's not one with the locks and a key, but one that every single one of us, including myself, has lived in and didn't even realize it. I want you to think of this circle as an invisible cage, and you are in it. The story that you've been telling yourself about who you are is in here. Your self-image, what's possible for you, and it is sneaky because it sets limits that you don't even see. The set point for finances. You try new strategies, or the year starts off great, and yet you are always making around the same amount year after year. The set point for your health. You try a new routine, a new protocol, yet your body always returns to the same weight. You return to the same habits, that same plateau. The set point for relationships. You and your partner commit to being different, and for a while, it's great, only to find yourself back in the same dynamic. Or you want to date somebody different, only to find yourself attracting the same type of person, and there you go, ending up in that familiar pattern. And here's the catch. Your results can never rise higher than this circle. You cannot out-earn it. You cannot outperform it. You cannot out-hustle it. You will always return to the boundaries of who you believe you are. Boundaries made up of stories and standards. It's not the truth, but repetition. It's not fact, but your programming. When you're in this circle, it feels safe, familiar, predictable. You know it. It is cozy, but it is also suffocating. That's why no matter how much you do, you still feel like you're hitting the same wall, because the wall isn't out there. It's in here, in the circle. There's this story about an ant on a piece of paper, very much like this, and a circle is drawn around it. And that line keeps it contained, not because it cannot cross it, but because it believes it cannot. And I want to take you deeper, because you and I, we are not ants. We are meant to cross this circle. We are meant to shatter it. We are meant to step out, just like this arrow pointing outside of the circle. But we can only do that when we realize what this circle is. Not truth, not destiny, just stories. And here's the kicker. Most of the stories aren't even ours. They were handed to us from parents, from culture, from teachers, from partners, from bosses, spoken over and over and over again until we believe them, until we've made them fact. And in our mind, it can sound like this. Well, this is who I am. This is what's possible for me. This is my lot in life. And that's how the cage is built. In fact, I think often about one of my clients. So she was somebody that realized what she would really love is to make a big impact in the world. And it would require her to be more visible. It would require her to step into the spotlight. But a story that she had made fact that came from her childhood was that to step out into the spotlight is dangerous because you get in trouble for it. Because you take away from others. She was reprimanded for that it took away from her siblings. Gay Hendricks talks about this as the crime about shining. And in fact, I did a whole podcast episode with him about this. And you can find the link here at the top corner or in the description if you want to dive into this deeper. And I highly, highly suggest you do. So back to my client. So she's in a little bit of a tough situation because her desire is to make more of an impact, but it feels like it is not safe to do so. I want to ask you something, just like I asked her, and I want you to be radically honest with yourself. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? The strategy, the systems, the coaching, all of it. And yet your results still feel like they are stuck in a holding pattern. You're brilliant, you're committed, you're capable, and still something is just not clicking. It's like you're circling around something and you can almost touch it, but you can't quite break through. This is what I want you to know. You are not broken. You are not behind, and you're certainly not less than. You're simply caught inside something, this circle, that you didn't even realize was there. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, the plastic surgeon turned author of this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, discovered something profound. You cannot consistently live in a way that is out of alignment with the image you hold of yourself. So people came to him thinking, if I change my nose, if I change my scars, if I change something external, then my life will change. But when he would have his follow-up with these patients, and this could be weeks, months, even years later, he realized something. Although they did look different on the outside, they still felt the same way on the inside. And that's when it clicked for him. He realized that if the self-image doesn't change, the results don't change either. You remain trapped in the circle. And I know this because I have lived it. I built cages I didn't even know existed. So I'm going to share some with you, and you let me know if any of these resonate with you. Things like cages of good girl, stay small, don't rock the boat. What will people think? Oh, and this was our big one. In our culture, we don't do that. Cages of who do you think you are? And I want you to know that these weren't just thoughts. They were operating systems running quietly in the background, shaping what I went for, what I said yes to, what I walked away from. And so there is no possibility here in the circle. And here's the thing. See me in there, in this picture? Nobody could get me out. Not an investor, not a partner, not a promotion, not even a miracle opportunity. In fact, I remember once getting a phone call from somebody who had this amazing opportunity. Because I was here, just like the stick figure in the circle, because I was here, I listened to the opportunity from being in here. And when I listened to that opportunity through this filter, I assumed they were asking me to refer them to somebody. They wanted me to reach into my contacts. I never thought that they were asking me, because in this circle, that possibility for me did not exist. Here's the thing. There was no knight in shining armor coming. No savior. The only person who could free me was me. And when I finally saw it, when I realized that the cage wasn't real, that was the beginning of everything. This truly is the moment. This is the moment when you realize it, that you stop negotiating with the cage, that you stop asking for permission. The moment that you stop saying someday and stop living this when-then life. Well, when this happens, then I'll go for it. When this changes, then I'm going to take action, because you know what happens? There's always another when, and there's always another then. But this can change today, right now, as you're listening to this, because this circle that I've drawn on this piece of paper is not real. It's just meaning that we've given to it, that we've created. It's stories, and stories can change. Remember that client that I was telling you about that wanted to be in the spotlight? Well, she stepped out of the circle. And as a result of that, she has a podcast. She's been on national television. She is impacting so many people. But the only way that she could have that experience was to go to the place where that possibility existed. And that meant she had to leave that circle, that invisible cage. And was that scary? You better believe it. Was it even terrifying? Absolutely. Because everything, it's like a gravitational pull, is going to pull you in to keep you in here, in the circle. Because your whole life has been built to defend this. So the question isn't, can you step out? The question is, will you? This is your one beautiful life. And every single day that you are alive is an invitation to step out. And to really bring this home to you, I want to share a poem. This was a poem that was sent to a radio station in the UK, and it really speaks to the urgency of right now, because your life matters. It's called A Love Letter to Right Now. I'm 80 years old, and somehow I woke up in my 38-year-old body just for one day. I wake up to little hands tugging at the blankets. I blink. I sit up slowly. My babies, they're small again. I gasp. I cry. They climb into bed, giggling, wiggling. I used to rush through mornings, but not today. I pull them close. I hug them tight. I kiss their messy hair. I hold their little hands. And this time, I soak in every second. I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror. No deep lines, no gray hair, my younger face. I used to think I looked old at 38. What a silly thought. I stare for a moment and think, you are so beautiful. I find my husband in the kitchen making coffee. He looks strong and young. I wrap my arms around him so tightly, and he looks surprised. Maybe we didn't hug enough back then, I think. We talk about the day, nothing big. But today, it all feels big. I memorize the sound of his voice. We pile into the car. Kids arguing over seatbelts. Someone drops a snack. Crumbs everywhere. Oh, I used to get so frustrated. But I soak in the noise, the chaos. I know my car will be quiet and spotless for many years to come. But I'll miss the mess. I will miss this mess. Dinner is loud and unorganized. No one wants to sit still. They're shouting, giggling, and a little arguing, and so much life. I don't clean up right away. I just sit and watch, trying to burn it all into my memory. And before bed, I pick up the phone. I call my mom, and I hear her voice. Mom, Mom, Mom. I haven't heard this voice in so many years. I close my eyes and let her words wash over me. And I tell her I love her again and again, and I never want to hang up. And this time, I don't leave anything unsaid. At bedtime, I don't skip the pages in the story. Not tonight. I read every single word. And then I ask, can we read one more book? And they say yes. I don't want this day to end. I got one more day. And this time I knew. This was joy. This was love. Those little hands, the loud, messy dinners, our strong young bodies with no aches or pains, our parents who were still alive. It all mattered so much more than we ever realized. Here's the greatest tragedy of all. It's not the cage itself. It's reaching the end of your life and realizing that you never stepped out. If this episode resonated with you, will you do me a favor? Share it. Share it with somebody else that you know needs to hear it. Please subscribe, download, rate, review, do all of the things because it helps us to reach more people. and I'll see you here next time.